A couple of years ago, we conducted an extensive comparison of vertical mice and concluded that the Logitech MX Vertical and the Logitech Lift were the most well-rounded, one for big hands and the other one for smaller hands.
However, many new vertical mice have been launched since then, including ones from Razer or Keychron. So we bought them all and started the quest to answer the question, is there any good alternative to the MX Vertical and the Logitech Lift?
Hi, I'm Mikel de Corby, and this is Luis Sevilla, our CEO.
We have been testing all these vertical mice for the last several months.
And today, we're going to share our conclusions to find out if there's a new king of the hill or if the Logitech mice still rule in the vertical mouse arena.
But before we dive in, let's address two important factors when choosing a vertical mouse: hand size and grip. Shall we start?
Let's go!
Okay, so there are two types of hand size, let's say. With regular mice, it will be more, but in vertical mice, there's only two. Let's say small and large. A medium hand size is around 19 centimeters from the top part to the bottom part. The average person that has this kind of size is like in the 180 area.
Yeah, like 6 foot.
These are the two Logitech mouse that have been around, this one for 7 years, the MX Vertical, and the Logitech Lift for around 3 years. The MX Vertical is for large hands and the Lift is for small ones. Let's move on to the grip. So there's basically two kinds of grip: the claw grip or the fingertip grip, but for our case we're going to combine both of them because vertical mice are quite similar, and the palm grip. So palm, let's use the MX Vertical as an example. Palm is when you're grabbing the mouse with your whole hand and you're moving it from the wrist to the elbow to the shoulder to move around the mouse. And the claw grip or the fingertip grip, but we'll call it claw, you're basically grabbing it with the fingertips, and then you have much more control because you have these micro movements, right? So something that is going to happen with all these mouses or these mice that we are going to be analyzing is that, for example, if you have a medium hand size, the palm grip on the MX Vertical is a little bit too large, but on the Logitech Lift, it's fine. But it's maybe a little bit on the short side. So depending on your grip, one size or another is going to be good or bad.
So maybe we should start kind of reviewing these two mouse and understanding why they are the benchmark of the market.
This was launched 7 years ago. So what's good about this mouse? First of all, Logitech creates products for the mass market. Their quality is good overall. Their design style and language is also for the mass market. So even though this is ergonomic mouse, it's not designed to kind of wow you. It's designed to be fine for the most amount of people. Good things. So sensor is fine, build quality is fine, the wheel is a good wheel, and actually we'll see that it's one of the better wheels. The shape of the mouse is quite safe. It should fit most of the hands, and the materials are good because Logitech creates decent products, right? So let's talk about the things that are not so good. So this mouse was created 7 years ago, and the design language screams office mouse, right? So if you have an office mouse, this is a little bit too clicky, right? So the amount of force that it's required to click, it's fine. It's too loud, right? The thumb buttons are quiet, but they require a little bit too much force. And that's something that it was improved in the Lift a few years later. Another thing is that the shape, it has like a quite nice design. You can see that they were trying to create this kind of effect, right? And it has this, I don't even know how to call it, soup?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, this shape, right? So there's this little gap here, and actually that gap kind of like pinches your pinky. So when you're sliding from left to right, if your pinky slide to the table, it kind of like
traps it.
Yeah, it traps it. And then on the other side, where your thumb rest area is, I would say that this thumb rest is actually quite low. So what eventually happens is that even though your hand is kind of straight, your fingers are straight, your thumb kind of falls a little bit too much. I think it would be more comfortable if the thumb rest would be a little bit higher. But with that said, that really depends on what's your grip. So let's say that you're clawing it. If you're clawing it, this is not so important. And if you have large hands, probably it's not going to be so important. So this is more like, okay, if this mouse is a little bit too large for your hand and you're palming it, maybe that's going to be a little bit more of an issue. And another thing, this shape, and we will see it a little bit later, and going back to the nice things, it's actually quite nice. It feels your hand in a, let's say, in the proper way, or in the correct way.
Yeah, without pushing it.
Yeah, and it doesn't push it too much. And at the same time, it goes from a round shape into a curved shape. So
it's convex and then concave.
Yeah, this actually allows to claw it kind of comfortably. So I would say that the worst thing of this mouse is that it's too large and it's too clicky. And actually another important thing is that because of the shape of the mouse, it forces your hand kind of in a pinch position. Later we will see that a lot of mouse that have kind of been released since then have been copying this, and I would say it's not very comfortable. Okay, so this one is a solid mouse.
And it's $120.
Okay, it's $120, so it's on the expensive side of the vertical mouse.
Yes.
Okay, so moving to the Logitech Lift. So the Logitech Lift is the, let's say, small brother of the MX Vertical, and I think they fixed a few things. So clicks, very quiet. The thumb buttons, I would say, that require a little bit less force. They're a bit louder than the main clicks, but still they're nice. The wheel is nice as usually it is. This little, I don't know how to call it, area, it's a little bit lower, so it's more difficult that it pinches your pinky.
It's more like vertical. It doesn't go inside so much, so it's less likely to trap your finger.
The shape is pretty much the same with the curved transition and so on. I would say that the shape is solid, will be comfortable for most of people. Again, from my point of view, the thumb rest area should be a little bit higher, so you have more kind of like a rest area, so you don't have to pinch it. But I must say that this one, with one of the ones that we have there, is my favorite mouse. So for medium hand size with claw grip, this is a solid candidate. And how much is this one?
70.
$70. Okay, yeah. So there's a difference between these two.
Yeah, one is much cheaper, and I would say it's a safer choice because of the size. Because it's smaller, that one is really big.
Large, yeah. So I would say that for most people in the 170 area downward, this one is the safe one. And well, something that some people value. Also, you have a few color options on this one, and I think the MX Vertical was only released in this color.
Yes, only that color.
Okay, so let's move on to the next options.
Yes. So now we're going to compare them to the
MX Vertical.
Yes, the MX Vertical, compare it to the cheaper copycats, let's call it that way. So these are both around 40 euros each. They both have similar sensors. This one has 2400 dpi maximum, and this one has 4000 dpi. Both are normal sensors for office use. So
okay, so let's start with the deluxe one. $40 compared to 120, so a third of the price. A few things. Clicks, okay, that's better. It's a softer sound. Wheel, it's kind of soft but a little bit flimsy. It has the issue of pinching the pinky too, so this was copied exactly the same. Kind of the shape is similar, but not exactly the same. It goes from this convex to concave shape in a faster transition. So this means that when you're palming this mouse, it doesn't feel as it feeling your hand so much. So I would say that for palm grip, it's a little bit less comfortable, but at the same time, for smaller hands, it's a little bit better because it means that your hand goes a little bit deeper.
Yeah, and it's slightly smaller than the other one.
Yeah, slightly smaller. Yeah, so it's kind of very similar, but probably this one for slightly smaller hands is a little bit better. Things that I don't enjoy: the texture, the coating, the finishing of the plastic is a little bit too sticky. So probably if you have oily hands, it's not going to be a pleasant experience. The thumb buttons are really hard to press, and they're located in the bottom side. So this means that if you're gripping, or basically you're grabbing the mouse, palm or claw, and you're going to move, you have to press it. But if I actually click it, actually, I don't know if you can actually see it, but when I click it, it moves because it's so tough to click.
Yes.
These two buttons are basically borderline useless. And again, the shape is this kind of thin shape, copying the one from Logitech. So you have this kind of pinching movement. The shape is a little bit less comfortable. The coating or the texture, it's a little bit more uncomfortable too. These buttons are not great. So I wouldn't recommend this one, even though it's a third of the price. Okay, so let's move on to the Trust mouse. Again, sensor is fine. Most of them have a fine sensor. Clicks, nice quiet clicks, doesn't require too much force. The thumb buttons are nice quiet clicks and doesn't require, again, too much force. The texture is fine. The build quality seems fine too. For a $40 mouse, this is fine. The shape is fine, but it has a weird thing. Even though they are copying the thumb area too, they are copying the shape, they've tried to create like a thumb rest area slightly inward, right? And something that happens is that now the thumb rest is even lower than before, and at the same time the fingers, the main four fingers, are moving kind of like forward, but the thumb is kind of moving diagonally downward because of this area here. So it can happen that you're kind of like grabbing the mouse in this way. It's not that you're grabbing the mouse kind of like diagonally towards the table, that's not uncomfortable, because your hand at the end of the day, it's not like this, right?
Yeah,
You kind of grab it sideways a little bit, so that's fine. But when your fingers are going in kind of like different angles, then it can get a little bit uncomfortable. I haven't used it enough to know if this is potentially a problem in the long term, but I could see how this could be a problem. But still, comparing these two, I think this is a good option. Knowing that this one is a third of the price of this one, sensor is fine. I would say the clicks are nicer from this one than the Logitech, but the grip of the Logitech is a little bit better. And I would assume that the Logitech quality is going to last longer than the first one.
That one has a lot of years.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it from the camera. This has been used a ton and it's still working. So from these two cheap options, I would discard this one, and I think this one is a fine option.
Yeah, you didn't mention that the this convex to convey transition has a similar problem to this one, but maybe not as noticeable.
Yeah, it's actually quite similar, but it's kind of like middle ground.
So now we're going to try these other two. One is from Delux, and the other one is from Keychron, the Keychron M5. They are not exactly copycats, they're not exactly trying to have the same shape, but they have a similar philosophy underneath.
So they have a kind of like similar size, right? So they're in the same category. What's the price of these two?
So this one is also $40. I think it's 42, and this one is 70.
Okay, so this one is a little bit more expensive. Okay, let's start with this one. So even though they seem to be quite similar, actually when you grab them, they're quite different. So good things, clicks, fine, scroll, fine, and nothing super special, but it's fine. So this one, from all the mice that we have here, it has the bottom clicks that are better implemented, I would say. A little bit too clicky, but the amount of force that it's required to press them, it's fine. You have a wheel here on the thumb, but I find it slightly gimmicky. If you see how the hand is resting, the thumb is going diagonally downward, right? So clicking these buttons, it's quite simple. But when you have to move upward, and it's kind of like a little bit too much distance to scroll sideways.
So you actually have to kind of curl your thumb in order to use it.
Yeah, kind of.
And
I'm palming it right now. If I was clawing it, it's like actually moving. You're actually lifting the mouse to do this.
I have been using this mouse for quite some time, and even though I have the wheel, I end up using shift
wheel, yeah.
Because it's much easier than moving your mouse. Losing the grip, and then you have to go back to gripping it like you like, and the other way you just keep gripping it.
Yeah, but as product designers, I would say that extra point for trying something new.
Yes.
So that's nice, and actually the feeling when you're using the wheel, it's actually quite nice. So that's good. So something good that this mouse has and not many others have is that this recess has been well implemented. So here we can see that the distance between the edge and the desk is much larger in this one. And actually in this one, you can comfortably rest the pinky.
Yeah, you can tuck it.
Yeah,
tuck it underneath.
Exactly. You can tuck the pinky inward and you can, or inside, and you can move it around. Doesn't matter if you're palming it or you're clawing it, you can do this. So that's a good implementation. Something that for me, it's kind of like what's kind of like screaming when I'm grabbing is like, it has a weird shape. And if we see it from the top side, there's an area here that's kind of like, it's too large, way too large.
Like a butt.
Yes, the mouse has a butt. And when you're grabbing it, when you're palming it, it's kind of like there's something that it's pushing your hand outward.
Even if you claw it, you can notice it too.
Yes, and even if you're clawing it, when you're moving backward the mouse, you're noticing it. So if I would like to rest my hand, considering this shape as like, okay, this has been properly designed, then I would put my hand in a way that it's kind of like my hand wants to rest in a different way. So it feels like the bottom part or the back part of this mouse and the front part of this mouse don't really mesh. It's like they're designed to position your hand in a different way. I would say that that's the biggest thing. It's like there's this thing in the backward that feels weird. It's feeling your hand too much. It's kind of not. It's not only feeling your hand. It's kind of like pushing it backward. And if I want to rest my hand on that area, then my fingers go to in a different direction. And we were talking about the convex and concave. So if we see it from the front, you could see that this shape here doesn't really feel your hand. So actually your hand is sliding and eventually moving into this area that is kind of like the large butt of this mouse. I kind of like this mouse. I kind of like it, but this area makes it so not so comfortable for me. But I know that you've been using it for quite some time. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, for me, I noticed the butt. So I have at home, I have the MX Vertical, and this is one that I use here at the office. So I like the shape. but I claw it, so this is not a huge problem. I think if you're gonna palm it, then you're gonna be like, that's gonna be sticking on your hand. But if you're gonna be clawing it, yes, when you move it downwards, you might notice it, but it's not a huge problem. And I like this button down here.
Yeah, those are nice.
You know, for 40 euros compared to this other one that we were talking before,
this one is better for
this one feels well made. If you turn it on, it has
the little screen. It
has a screen here that you can change the DPI with this button. It has RGB if you're into that kind of thing, although you will hide it when you put your hand.
Yeah, that doesn't make much sense, but yeah.
But it's there, and I think this is an okay mouse if you're gonna claw it.
And at the same time, even though you could say it's a little bit tacky, the design language is different. So
yes,
they are trying to do something different. And again, as people that are designing products, extra points for them for trying to have a different design language.
Yeah, and the buttons are nice. Like the buttons are really nice.
So actually, for me, the biggest thing is like this rare part that pushes your hand outward. With that said, if you have a large hand and you're clawing it, probably that's not going to be a problem. And you have the two extra benefit that the rest of the mice don't have. That is like you can tuck the pinky here.
That is really comfortable.
That is quite comfortable. At the same time, you have access to the thumb buttons on the bottom part, and that's quite comfortable too. It's a little bit weird that the mouse is so tall because you're not really using this area, but because you're not using it, doesn't matter.
Yeah, but I think that's a design decision. Like aesthetic thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I think this is a viable option. I would still recommend the Trust over this one.
Yes.
But if you have large hands and you claw it, probably it's fine.
Yeah. This one is like a safest option.
Yeah, probably this is the safest cheap option. This is a little bit more funky, but this could be a good option too. Okay, so let's move on to the Keychron mouse. First of all, it's white. Props.
It's also available in black, but I thought, okay, let's grab something.
So we have something a little bit different. Yes. I really like the texture of this mouse. The finishing, this coating, is really nice, not sticky. If we're not mentioning the finishing on the other ones, it's because it's not special. So probably this is going to be the only one that we mention as a good thing, right? Even though the shape is not the best, only that is going to give some good points. Yeah. Clicks, as you can hear, very loud. Way too loud.
Yeah. Even louder than the MX Vertical.
Yes, even louder. Thumb clicks, very loud again. The wheel is really hard.
It's super heavy.
Yeah, it's really, really heavy. It's the heaviest wheel that I've tried in a mouse, maybe ever. Yeah, like it feels like something is stuck. And then you have the thumb wheel that's really heavy. If I put my pinky here just to stop the mouse moving and do like this, it's like I cannot move it. Yeah. I raise the mouse before moving the wheel.
To hold it down.
I have to hold it down. I have to hold it down and scroll. I would say that the wheel position is a little bit too high because it's over the buttons, but if the wheel was soft, it would be usable. The location or the position of the thumb buttons, it's kind of nice, not too far away, so it's easy to use. It has a nice little wedge here, so you can rest your pinky. I would say that it's better if you're palming it than if you're clawing it, because it has a larger area in the front than in the back, so when you're clawing it, there's gonna be less area, but still, it's good enough, and many of the mouse don't have this area, so that's nice.
Yeah, that's a huge improvement compared to, strapping your pinky there.
Yes, totally. Actually, the sensor of this one is good.
Yeah, it has up to 30,000 dpi.
Another very good thing is that it's very light. It's not very light as a gaming mouse, but it's very light for vertical mouse. So it's actually the combination of being light plus the texture, the finishing, makes it so it's quite nice.
Yes,
it's nice to touch, right?
Yes.
But then it's not so nice to click or to use the wheel, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then moving on to the shape, so we were talking about the little wedge for the pinky. But from my point of view, there's two things that I don't love. And these two things are, the thumb rest area is very low. So this means that actually your thumb is kind of like falling downwards.
Sliding.
Yeah, yes, perfect. That's the word, it's sliding, right? So if you're palming it, feels a little bit off. Your thumb is just dropping in sliding. If you're clawing it, okay, because you're creating more force with the fingertips, then and the shape of the thumb area is this way, you can probably grab it comfortably, but still I'm missing a thumb rest area here. And if we're looking at the shape of the mouse, it's concave. So this means that your hand, again, it's kind of sliding downward.
Has the same problem as this
one. Yeah, as this one, yes. And this is something that we've seen in other mice that are cheap, and we analyzed in the previous video, that this shape is kind of, if you're clawing it, it doesn't really matter what shape you have in the back part of the mouse. But if you're palming it, then you actually want something that feels your hand enough so you can rest it, but not enough that it's pushing backward. This is actually doing the opposite. There's nothing to rest on. So then, but basically what's happening is that your thumb is sliding downward and your hand is sliding downward. So I would say that I wouldn't recommend this one for palm, and the shape I think it's fine for claw, but the buttons are too clicky, and the wheels require too much force. So I wouldn't recommend it because of these reasons. Still, it's comfortable because of the coating. It's light, and the design, it's quite clean. Anyway, so I think this is a good promise, but I think they need to improve a little bit, a few things. Yep.
And it's $70.
Yeah, actually,
So it was the same
$70
as the Lift. Yeah.
Yeah, so taking into account this, probably I would still recommend the Trust one over this one and all the other ones. And maybe second position this one, and I would directly discard.
Yes, this one is, do not buy this one.
Yeah, and I would probably wouldn't buy this one because of the wheels being so hard.
We're going to move now to mice for a little bit smaller hands.
Okay, perfect.
So we have another Deluxe.
Okay.
Just as a side note, all the Deluxe are the M618, okay, but they have different names at the
Different surnames.
Yeah, different surname besides the M618. So
Okay, understood.
we will put that on the screen.
Okay, so let's start with this one. If we put them one next to the other, you can see that actually both of them are smaller than the MX Vertical, right? But the shape, even though I would say they're the same size, the shape is quite different. I would say that this, for small hands that are clawing it, so even small plus claw, it would work. And it kind of like feels your hand because it's kind of like smaller from the back to short. It's shorter, exactly. And the coating is kind of nice, so the texture is nice. The problem is that it will get sticky through the years.
They also sell it with normal finish.
Yeah, so just have in mind that if you eventually buy this one, probably it won't last more than a few years. Moving on to the clicks. Very quiet, one of the better clicks that we've had. On the side buttons, quite quiet too. It has a third side button on the top that it's quite difficult to reach because it's smaller and you have to go over the top. So I wouldn't say that one is too usable. About the shape, very small shape if you're going to palm it. So
you cannot palm it if you have medium to large hands.
No, not at all. You can claw it with medium hands, but probably the most comfortable is to claw it with small hands, probably. And I would say the thumb support, the thumb rest area, it's not great. It's better than some of the options that we've seen, but it's not great. And it kind of like slides you a little bit the finger downward. But at the end of the slide, there's something. So you can rest it.
And you have a pinky.
Yeah, and you have a little pinky rest here. And actually, this pinky rest, it's a little bit larger than other ones. How much is...
That one is $30.
Okay, so for $30, I would say that if you have a small hand, and particularly if you're clawing it, this is a good option. The wheel is fine, sensor is fine. So yes, I would say all around is pretty nice. Although if you're palming it, the grip is a little bit weird. So that's why I would recommend the claw. Yeah, but still probably, if you have small hands, probably worth trying because there are not so many options for small hands that are decent.
And then we have this one, this one is from CSL, but I think there's many brands.
There's many brands, yes. This is an OEM mouse that has been around for, I don't know, 7 years or even more. It has always been in the $30 to $40 area, right? I would say this one has a very different shape to all of them. This one kind of feels your hand, so you don't grab it like this, like most of the vertical ones. You actually grab it rounding your hand. It's much thicker, much thicker. If you're palming it, this is a very comfortable mouse. The thumb rest area, even though there's not like a large area because of this concave shape, it's actually quite comfortable. And the transition from from convex to concave, actually here has been done in a quite, I wouldn't say smart way. And I don't know if you can see it sideways, but it has a bump. So even though it has a concave shape, your hand is supported. So that's quite nice. But at the same time, if you're clawing it, it's not in the middle. So I would say that for medium-sized hands that want to palm it, it's probably quite comfortable. And if you want to claw it, it's quite comfortable too. Okay, clicks. Too loud, too loud, too loud, too loud. The amount of pressure or force that it's required, it's fine. That's totally fine. The sensor is fine. The wheel is fine. So I would say the shape is really nice. The clicks, sensor, etc. is fine. And the buttons are kind of easy to access, both on palm and on claw. And it has an extra button on the bottom part that you can use. And something that I personally really like are these two buttons. And these two buttons, you click them this way. You could say, that's kind of crazy. Well, it's true, it's kind of crazy. But usually, you're never using that area. So now you have extra functionality that you can access. So what I would say is like, this is one of my favorite shapes and it's different to the rest. For medium hand sizes, it's good for palm and good for claw. For large hands, I don't think you can palm it. It's too small for large hands, but you can claw it. So in the $40 range, if you want to try a different shape because you're not convinced by the rest, I would for sure recommend this one. And I would say that these two are my favorite mice for my hand size and my grip.
Yeah, but for example, I have the same. We have the same size, and I also claw it. And for me, that one feels a bit too small.
Too small, yeah.
And I go towards. For me, this is a bit too big,
Mhm.
but I would rather get
Yeah.
this one. That's why maybe this one feels okay for me because it's a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
But the shape of this one is still much.
Yeah, so even though you may have the hand size of another person, there's a little different
Yeah.
preferences because you're clawing it or you're putting your hand in a slightly different way. So that's one of the reasons why we say, okay, if you're not sure which one to buy a few of them,
Yes.
then test them and return the other ones. But yeah.
So now we have the oddball.
Okay.
The alternative to the MX Vertical and the MX Lift, that it doesn't have the same philosophy behind, because the shape is actually a little bit more different, but it's a recent vertical mouse from a very known brand,
Okay.
which is Razer. This is the Razer Pro Click Vertical Edition.
So this one is very vertical. It's basically 90 degrees. So when I saw this mouse, I was like, whoa, this one is really different. But at the same time, I was like, but I've seen this somewhere. So
Maybe here.
yes, the shape is basically exactly the same as the Evolvent shape. From the top, it's nearly the same shape. It has the same thumb rest. It has the same position for the buttons. It's basically the same mouse.
It's really vertical.
Yeah. So actually, this shape is quite comfortable. I would say even could be the most comfortable, but with a big but. And it's that this mouse is really large. It's really tall. And actually, what happens when a mouse is so vertical, kind of like 90 degrees, and it's so tall, it forces your hand to move upward. Usually, vertical mice, you're kind of like doing this movement, kind of like diagonally to the table, and you're gripping this way. But actually, in this case, you're gripping this way and you're moving upward. So this means that if you have thick forearms and you put your forearm in the table, maybe it's fine because the thick forearm raises the wrist, and then it's kind of like aligned with this thumb rest area. And actually the thumb rest is one of the things that pushes your thumb upward, and when you're pushing your thumb upward, then your whole hand is going up. So or you have large or thick forearms, or you're a very large person, 2 meters tall or something like this, or I think there's a high chance that this is just too large and it forces your wrist in this position,
which is painful.
Yeah, which is painful. And I was testing these mice a long time ago, and that happened to me. And actually I had to use it with something under my wrist to elevate my wrist, and then when I was doing it that way, it was very comfortable. So I would say that this shape, if it was smaller, I think it would be a great mouse. But currently this shape is just like too large for most people. But still, let's talk about the rest of the things. But because this shape is so different, we started there. Okay, clicks. Too loud. But I mean, Razer, gamer, clicks, maybe that's your...
And not super loud. They're loud, but not extremely.
Not extremely loud, yeah. But still quite clicky. Yes. Thumb, okay, same. I would say quite easy to press in the sense of like the location is quite nice. This texture is really nice, I would say.
Like the finishing of the mouse.
Yes, the finishing, I would say this is one of the better ones. And on this side, I would say this one is generic, but I really like this one. It feels really comfortable. The sensor, I think it's the best sensor. Yes, it's the best sensor. And this pinky rest is really nice too. I think the potential of this shape is amazing, but it's coming from a 20-year-old design from Evolvent. That this is a brand that made mice really long time ago, one of the first ergonomic mice brands, and they did a few models for large and small hands, but these mice are very expensive and the sensor is a tragedy. So I would never recommend these ones. And it feels like this is a refreshed version of this one. That is an improvement for sure. So the 90 degrees plus the thumb rest in this area forces your hand and the height, how tall it is, forces your hand upward. That's why I wouldn't recommend it, except if you're a large person and or you have very large hands or large forearms.
And it's expensive, $120.
Yeah, and I would say that because of the dimensions, I couldn't say, okay, you palm it or you claw it. It's more like, if you're large, you will be able to figure out, doesn't matter, both of them, it will be fine. But you just need to be very large to use this mouse comfortably.
Yeah, but I wouldn't call this an alternative to the MX Vertical because it's something completely different.
I would say that if this is good for you, I would say it's better than MX Vertical. But I think the likelihood of it being good, it's low. because you need to be large. So if you're able to use it without forcing your wrist upwards, I think it's going to be very comfortable, because one of the issues with all of these mice is that they don't have a thumb rest. This one has a thumb rest, so this means that you don't have to pinch constantly your mouse. So that's actually quite comfortable because you have a place where to just rest your thumb. So that's very nice.
Okay, so let's put this one away and maybe we can do a recap.
Sure. Okay. So I would say we have two categories. Let's start with the large one.
Yeah.
So what options we have in price? Well, I would say if you're a large human being, maybe this one is an option. It could be more comfortable. Probably I would discard it. So the best option I would say is this one, and the next one is this one. So I would probably recommend the Trust one for most people. It's kind of like a safe shape. The only issue is the thumb rest area that forces your thumb diagonally, so it could be less comfortable. But being a third of the price, 40 versus 120, probably this is going to be a good option. This has a few nice things, like the kind of like the recess area for the pinky and the thumb buttons, but a little bit weird shape in the
So if you're gonna claw it, this could be
an option. Yeah, but overall I would recommend this one. Yes. So between the small options, these shapes are quite different to this one. So it can happen that both shapes are good for you, but this one I would say is for smaller hands. This one is for more medium hands. This one is going to feel more your hands, so I think this one for palm is going to be more comfortable. I wouldn't recommend this one for palm. So if you have small hands and you want to claw it, I would say this one. If you have medium hands and you want to palm it, this one. If you're not sure,
then get the lift.
if you're not sure, take the lift. But if you're a small person with small hands, probably this one. If you're more on the medium size, so small would be maybe 150, and medium would be more in the 165 centimeters tall. I would recommend this one. From all the shapes, this one is my favorite one. I have a medium size hand and I'm 180, but the grip is a little bit different to the rest. But I would say that these are two solid options. So depending on your height and your hand size and your kind of grip, I would recommend one of both. Still, these are my two favorite mice, and probably the one I use the most is this one. So I think kind of the question is like, do we have a new king?
Yeah, of the arena.
I would say maybe a budget king, maybe this one. These two could compete, and then maybe you could say that this one could compete. But if you want the combination of safe shape, good build quality, good scroll wheel, decent clicks, etc., probably these ones are still king. But I would say that
Too clicky.
this is too clicky. So actually, maybe I would go with this one, and it's cheaper.
That one is really the safest option, because you're gonna spend 40 euros. You're not gonna annoy your coworkers, and the finishing is all right.
Yeah, so actually, if I would probably, from larger to smaller hands,
Yes.
probably I would consider this one from large to small. These ones are the cheaper one. These ones are the most expensive one. I think these two compete fine, and actually these compete fine. So I wouldn't say that there's a clear king of the hill, but I think there's a few options that are decent options.
Okay, so that's about it. If you have tried any of these mice and you wanna give us your opinion, please leave it in the comments below. And if we missed any mouse that you want us to review, please also let us know.
Okay, well, thank you, Mikel.
Thank you, Luis.
I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon.
Thank you for watching. Bye.